Difficult. Women.
Hello.
Hey.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yes. And what podcast are you listening to?
You are listening to Difficult Women.
Are you difficult?
Yeah, always. How about you?
Oh, yeah, girl.
Oh,
so
yeah.
difficult. I think I was called difficult just last week. Thank you very much. This voice right here is Marie.
And this is Katy. Hi, how are you?
Great.
Good. I was actually talking to them, but whatever.
Oh,
It's
okay.
fine.
And we have a caller now. Bing, bing. No.
Beep, beep,
God,
yeah.
I really want to do that someday.
One day we'll have to figure it out.
That'd be so cool.
Can any of you go back into the past and call us so that you can be on this podcast? That'd be great.
I love that.
One day.
Oh, but we have been getting a ton of emails lately.
We have been getting a lot of emails.
Let's go into the email banks.
Go into the email banks. We're going into the email banks. I don't even know what's an email bank.
No. There's sperm and then there's emails. And then
Yeah. Don't get them
That's it.
confused.
No.
You're trying to have a bubba.
So we got an email and it's from Emma. And she says, love the band, love the podcast. Y'all are doing a great job. I just listened to the most recent episode. She had sent this a couple weeks ago, by the way. Periods are magic. You didn't really mention it, so I was wondering what your thoughts on using period blood or depicting menstruation in art, like painting with period blood or vaginal knitting. Would you ever try it or buy it?
I'd say, Emma, you haven't seen how I painted my room. No. Gross.
Wait, what's vaginal knitting?
Oh, I've definitely seen vaginal knitting. It's like when you take yarn, put it in your pussy when you're having your period, and then you pull it out. You know how like you pull
like
the
you've
yarn
dyed it by the
your
color.
period, yeah.
Oh.
But you pull it from your vagina and knit.
Oh.
Like it's like an active
Oh, no,
thing.
I would never do
It feels
that.
like that would cause a lot of chafing. Internal
Yeah.
chafing. I don't know.
I thought it was like a beautiful way to dye a
I mean,
dress
you
that you've
could
always, a new tie-dye form.
Do that. But
Maybe
that's
I
not
would
what-
do that.
That's not what vaginal knitting is,
Nope,
though.
I would not.
I'm so pro
Yes.
creativity and art and like using menstrual blood for things to make a point, and maybe you can make some really cool things with that. I don't know if that's for me.
Yes, that's how I feel. I would love it for other people to do it.
I think
and
it's
I would
great.
even go and have past hors d'oeuvres at the opening reception.
Sure. And at a museum or something, I think it's worth putting out there because it's useful. I like those Instagram accounts where they really like do a lot of like period blood art. I'm into that. But vaginal knitting is not my kind of arts and crafts. I'm sorry to say.
But thank you, Emma, for writing us.
And that's a great question.
That is a great question.
Yeah. And what do you guys think of vaginal knitting? That one happens. But if you wash it, then is it, I mean.
Oh man, what if you accidentally get that one piece of vaginal knitting in all your white clothes and then all of them turn pink? Ugh,
We know
hate when that happens.
That's not how that works. What if you like dipped it in hydrogen peroxide and you're like, oh no, I ruined the art. Just like over. Anyway.
Well, I have some really cool new information that I found out because I was back home in Nashville for a couple weeks and I hung out with some old high school friends.
Cool.
So last week we were talking about the High Women.
Oh yeah.
And I felt so bad I couldn't name the fourth singer. Her name is Natalie Hemby. And guess what?
What?
She went to my high school.
Oh, there
Nobody
you go.
has gone to my high school. I think
Very
we
exciting.
had Casey Atwood or Casey Affleck. Casey somebody who was a NASCAR driver. And then now Natalie Hemby. She was 2 years older than I am. And so she is an incredible and very prestigious singer-songwriter in Nashville. And so, but the High Women, her being a part of that is like her first real big break of being out there and singing for herself and stuff.
That's
so
exciting. Good for
But
her.
I didn't know she went to my high school.
Good for all y'all.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting for me. I don't know so much for you.
It's real important.
Well, I mean, like Prince of Jordan went to your high school,
Yeah.
so I thought I gotta have something to contribute.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I don't know what he's doing now, but I know what now we know what she's doing.
Yeah, yeah. So
Anyway,
wow, let's bring this energy up and talk about something that's so exciting.
oh my God,
That
so hopeful.
It's so hopeful and so
wonderful.
wonderful and so, man, it just makes me looking forward to
giddy.
tomorrow.
Yep, and that's climate change. Oh gosh, what are we gonna do? Well, here's the thing about climate change. there are people that don't believe it's man-made.
Yeah.
That blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
There was somebody said once, it was like 99 out of 100 scientists, or something like that, were saying like, this is definitely true. Here's all the science and the facts behind it. They just discovered recently that one other scientist that was holding out, that there was all these flaws in his research. So it's basically 100% of scientists can confirm that it is man-made, and yet people don't want to believe it. I definitely believe in man-made climate change.
Yes.
And I don't know why people don't want to believe in it. I did read, I'm sort of looking it up though to say like, well, what is the deal here? And I did see a lot of it is from some sort of psychological perspective, which is just denial, basically, like psychological denial. And that if something is inconvenient for somebody, they don't want to believe that it's true, right? So if we really have to take a look at our actions and change them, like less air travel and eating less meat and not wasting electricity like we've been used to and not wasting water like we've been used to, that's really inconvenient for people and they don't want to change.
Right, because they've gotten used to taking their jets and eating their steak.
Yeah. And in addition to that the outcome, if we don't make the changes, is so terrifying.
Yes.
And it also affects people's plans, their life plans, like they wanted to get married and have children and have a normal life and retire early and all that stuff. Well, none of that's going to be able to happen if everything's falling apart, right? So people just don't, it's like a human thing to like shut down and not want to like actually deal with the reality of what's going on. So that's definitely a big part of, I think, what some of this denial stuff is about.
And I was watching this YouTube video and it was explaining that a lot of the deniers like to bring up that the Earth has gone through temperature changes through the thousands of years that it's existed. However, currently in the last like 30 years or even before that, since the Industrial Revolution, because of fossil fuels, the how quickly the Earth has warmed, that's the most alarming part.
Right. And that we were saying too before we started that this 2018 was the highest recorded year.
Yes, hottest year. And then 2019
has been
now
the hottest summer that we've ever had. And the wildfires and all the things that are going on. It's like a real thing, y'all.
And you can see it for your own freaking eyes.
Right.
I mean, I was in South Carolina this summer and I was evacuated because of the hurricane. And, we've had flooding in Nashville. My parents' house was, the rising creek in the backyard. Like, we've had friends in California that had to leave their homes because of the wildfire. I mean, it is happening to us.
Yeah, no, it's true. It is happening to us right now. And I think, again, people want to make as many excuses as they can around like, well, it's normal fluctuations and it's not actually. Oh, it reminds me of this story. We sort of had brought this up before, but once we got into an argument with not an argument. We got into a discussion in the cab in North Carolina with a cab driver about all sorts of different. He was very conservative, and we are not so conservative. And at one point, he's jumping topics. Like every time you kind of pin him down a little, he'd like jump to another topic. And one of the ones he wanted to go to was he was like, "Well, do you really believe climate change is man-made?" And it's not man-made. It's not man-made. It's just normal like fluctuations. And I was like, "Well, what do you think is causing climate change?" And he was like, "I mean, it's the cows. It's the cows that are doing it." And I was like, okay. I was like, I could actually buy into that a little bit, like with all the methane that they produce. I was like, but who do you think is bringing all these cows over here? Why do you think there's so many cows? It's not because the cows were like, I know, we're going to destroy the earth. And he had never thought about that.
Right.
He was like,
his mind was blown that day.
And I think that there's all these like little hot, like 30-minute bits. Like, you take like one sentence, then you regurgitate it over and over.
Again. How Elizabeth Warren wants to get it. Oh no, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is trying to take away cows. That's what those are the sound bites that people are trying to say.
Right. It's just like real weird.
What? I mean, I think we should eat less meat.
I mean, there's lots of things we can do. That was the other point that somebody had made on Twitter or something. But they were saying that, like, let's say we're not sure if it's man-made, even though we're pretty damn sure that this is a man-made thing.
If you believe in science, yes.
Sure. But let's just give you the benefit of the doubt. Meat causes, like, overconsumption of meat can be bad for your health. All the pollution in the air, which nobody's denying is out there, that can be bad for your health. So he was saying, why aren't we trying to make some of these changes, even just for our health.
Right.
Even if you don't believe in climate change, at minimum, we can start moving towards these cleaner energies and this healthier way of living for everybody.
Right. Well, so I researched this morning about the Green New Deal. And obviously, we've been hearing so much about it, especially because of Alexandria. Ocasio-Cortez has been, that's her big platform. And so she partnered with the Senator Ed Markey, and together they came up with this. It's a resolution. So it's not a law. It's not a bill. It's not new legislation.
Isn't it modeled off the New Deal?
Yeah.
From during the
Great Depression,
where we really had to buckle down and start making some changes. Otherwise, we were fucked.
Yeah. So basically, it's 14 pages of there's two big theses. No, it's like
thigh highs.
Thigh highs.
Thigh highs in this.
There's two thigh highs in this
sexy,
thing,
y'all.
I'd totally buy Green New Deal thigh highs.
Why not?
But so basically, the first one is what we need to do to solve the pending climate crisis. And it sets out some goals that we could do. And basically, to sum it up, is that we have to do away with, we need to completely stop burning fossil fuels as much as technologically feasible, period. So then the second part is that it then acknowledges that the transitioning Americans from fossil fuels into this new economy of clean energy, it will take away people's jobs, and it will take away people's health care. It will maybe even take away people's homes. But we have to transition into a totally new economy,
right?
Which is what's absolutely terrifying about. Yeah. So they have all these scientific facts about how if we could do away with fossil fuels and start creating renewable energy, how much that could save, the planet, the world, or whatever. But the idea of how to do that, and also this plan doesn't have a precise plan of how to do that. This is just an idea or a resolution.
This is what we have to do to make some changes.
Yeah,
I mean, of course,
so people are up in arms about it.
Well, and also, I mean, I don't know the details of the New Deal either, but I know that people had to make a lot of sacrifices during the New Deal, and the country united together, and they were like, okay, we get it.
Yeah,
we're going to do these things because it's for the betterment of our community and our future generations.
Right.
And one of the things that they didn't have to contend with during the collapse of the economy at that time was that they don't have these multi-billion-dollar companies that have been squeezing the little guy for all these years and trying to just have, their income be the bottom line left and right, and that they don't care about us. Right. They don't care about the country. Clearly, there are many reasons why things we can point to that demonstrates that. So, and our political situation right now is so divided, with the way the Trump supporters versus everybody else. That's kind of how I see it at this point. That, to have everybody kind of unite around this Green New Deal is probably going to be really difficult.
It seems almost impossible to get people on board with that.
Right, and all it's
creating a new economy.
Right. Well, and all the sound bites with Fox News, and it's not an impossibility at all. No. And in fact, creating a new economy so some people lose their jobs, but it also means that new jobs are created, and some of those people then can transfer into better jobs. Also, by the way, it's not like this is a little off topic, but there's this really great documentary. I want to say it's called American Factory. It's on Netflix, and it's about this Chinese company that wants to start making cars glass for cars in the United States. And so they bring their Chinese employees over to show American workers how to make their glass. And what you see is this conflict of how American workers work versus how people in China work, and people in China are basically really overworked, and how in America we're really fighting for our unions, but the companies don't want to unionize. And so people are just not the important part of the company anymore. And back during Ford Motor Company, and people were paid living wages, and people were treated properly, and people were taken care of, and they were safe in their jobs. What are we fighting for anymore? My point is that if those are the jobs that we have right now, What if we move
Right.
into like a world, this could benefit all these people that are really against it because they're afraid of losing their jobs. They might get better jobs.
Right.
They might have a better situation, you know, if we can
And be making more money.
And if we can impose some of that on these new companies and put some more, you know, regulations on these companies, then that could actually be really a great, not quite clean slate, but a great transition place. Now, all of this is a little pie in the sky, I'm afraid. But so...
Well, I think Elizabeth Warren has a good plan set.
She's got a plan for
She's
everything.
got a plan. She's got a plan for everything. I know. I do too. I like her a lot.
She's one of the few people that are
really
talking
does
about it.
Well,
Otherwise, you know, Biden's been like, well, we can sort of, you know, meet somewhere in the middle. And it's like, no, we can't. That's not really where we're at right now.
Yeah.
This is an emergency.
Yeah.
You know, this is beyond an emergency.
Right.
Speaking of which, who's going to save us?
A little girl from
Yeah. Well, it turns out all the children
all
of
the children
the
of the world.
planet,
Yeah. They're mad, and I don't blame them.
Oh my God. And they're terrified. They're not just mad, they're terrified.
I was reading something about the children of today are more anxious than they were during the Great Depression.
I was seeing something too, and maybe it was during the UN talks or something when the kids came and talked to the members of the UN. Somebody said something along the lines of like, kids today don't talk in terms of, in the future, I'm going to be a you know, lawyer. They say like, if the world still exists, I'd like to be a lawyer. Or they'll say like, I want to visit the Florida Keys. They don't say that anymore. They say like, if the Florida Keys still exist, that would be a place I'd like to go. I mean, that's the reality.
That's so sad.
But you guys, like, listen to what's happening right now. Think of like we literally have robbed these children of their futures in the most literal sense.
Right.
They could potentially have nothing.
But enter Greta Thunberg.
Yeah.
Who is just badass.
She's super badass.
And difficult. I think if there was any
much.
difficult woman out there, this is the one we're going to be talking about today. And she's been called all sorts of things, and difficult was also included.
For sure. If you don't know who she is, she's a Swedish young lady. She started at 15. She started, what is it called?
She started at 8 or...
Well, from what I heard, this whole movement started when she was 15. She what is that called? Oh, she did a strike on school, so she didn't want to go to school. Instead, she sat in front of the Swedish Parliament,
like every Friday,
for you know, climate change, and this movement picked up amongst children across the world, and they started taking off Fridays, and there's a name for it. Oh, Fridays for Future. So it was. Yeah, and she was just sitting out there by herself for a while, and she was trying to make a point just with that. And there was quotes of her saying, "I never in a million years could have imagined that this would have grown from that action, but I just was doing anything I could do."
Right. You know? Well, so when she was 8 years old, I guess she really learned about climate change and made her family become vegans, and also I guess both for. I know her mom was a famous...
She's a famous opera singer in Sweden. Has done some pop stuff, too.
Yeah, but she made her stop taking planes to, concerts and things, too. But so Greta is... she does have Asperger's.
Right.
And I think it's neat that she says that it's actually her superpower, because people on the spectrum, they see black and white. So she can see just clearly that there is a huge problem and nobody is doing anything about it.
Right. The other thing about people with Asperger's is they have a tendency to fixate on things. So instead of just like moving on or, getting over something quickly, they fixate on them. So for her, this is like, wait, why, you're changing the subject? Like my brain doesn't work like that. My brain is like, no, we have to keep fixating on this until we fix it.
Right.
And that is a superpower. And we're really, I think in some ways, there's a lot of talk about why has she been the face of this movement so much? And because there are a lot of other young people who have been speaking up and doing things and coming in front of people. And a lot of them tend to be children of color, people of color. And so there has been some talk about how, well, of course, it's this like white girl
from Sweden
that like everyone's paying attention to. And I think that there definitely is some truth to that, that the Western world is more apt to listen to a white girl than to, you know, a Native American girl or something, unfortunately. But I think the other thing though about her is her Asperger's. I think that people don't undervalue the fact that this disability, quote unquote, actually has been one of the things that has made her voice so loud. And that's really cool and inspiring in itself. There's I wouldn't mind just mentioning some of the other kids though. I know Greta obviously is very inspirational and has done so much, but even she mentions very clearly, she's like, this isn't about me. She's like, I'm many other people have started this work. I'm just participating in things that they've done. So a couple of other young people that have been working really hard. Autumn, I think you pronounce her name, Peltier, who is a water protector, Native American woman, and spoke at the UN to protect water. Reed Hema Pandey, who's 11 of India, and Carl Smith, 17 of Alaska, are 2 of the 16 youth that have filed a landmark UN complaint against 5 of the world's biggest carbon polluters.
Yes.
I mean, things like people like that. Artemisa, I want to say is her name. Zakriaba, I'm probably butchering that name, but she's from the Brazilian Amazon, and she spoke in New York City recently and said, you know, if it keeps going like this, 20 years from now, my house will become a desert, my people will become at risk of becoming history. So there's lots of people, young people from all across the world right now that are speaking out and have been speaking out for a long time too. So we wanted to make sure everybody knows about that.
Yes, that's great. Well, so we discussed this topic a couple weeks ago when she came to New York City and talked to the UN about at the climate summit. And she gave a very passionate, Greta gave a very passionate speech. And what we then found out was the amount of trolls that went after her speech. And if you haven't seen her speech, everyone please type in Greta Thunberg's climate summit speech, because I think it's very important for people to see, and then you can understand kind of, you know, what we're talking about.
The backlash.
She said, the backlash of it. And I mean, her biggest thing was, how dare you? How dare you rob us of our future, basically.
But it's been more incredible than her speech has been, the backlash to her. And that these primarily conservative white men, middle-aged men, have really been digging in on her from so many different angles, really trying to tear her down from all these angles. We thought it might be a good way to do troll time and read some of these trolls that Greta's been dealing with. One of our favorite trolls is the President of the United States, the Cheeto in Chief. He wrote, and some people are actually thinking that maybe he didn't even write this. They think that maybe one of his aides or something did, because it seemed like too well put together for one of his tweets, because it wasn't as out of control. But apparently he wrote, she seems like a very happy young girl looking forward to a bright and wonderful future. So nice to see, which is the most condescending thing to say. And then I think they posted even the video. And posted that. So fuck that guy.
Greta did then change her Twitter bio after Donald Trump tweeted that. And she changed her bio to the description as a very happy young girl looking forward to a bright and wonderful future.
Right, which is so cool of her. Which is so great.
Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin, who's Republican, he posted a video telling a reporter she's articulate, she's an intelligent woman, young woman, she's very emotional, she's very passionate, she's remarkably ill-informed. Thanks, great. That's a governor. That's the governor of Kentucky.
This one blew my mind. This wasn't so much a quote, but I don't have an actual quote, but this blew my mind that the disability group president made a remark. This is a guy that's president of a local non-for-profit for disability groups, wondered on Facebook if the 16-year-old Swede had mongoloidism.
Oh my God.
So not only is he like accusing her of having a disability that she doesn't have, but also calling it like the most un-PC term. And he's supposed to be the president of this like disability group.
Oh God. Well, Michael Knowles of the Daily Wire on Fox News called Greta a mentally ill Swedish child.
Right.
On air, on television. Right. That's great.
But here's the good news. So she's been getting all this heat from people. Other angles that people are taking are that she's being manipulated by the liberal media. She's being manipulated by her parents, for like fame mongering or whatever. Although you've seen nothing about her parents, really. So I don't believe at all that they're trying to get something out of this. But one thing that's been really cool about all this is how a lot of these arguments don't seem to be sticking. The way that a lot of these things have been kind of sticking some in the past. Some of it, and they were attributing it partially to her ability to be like, I don't care. So that's one thing.
Right.
But the other thing that they said was one of the reasons why they thought it was working, it wasn't sticking so well, is that she doesn't come out there with a political agenda. She doesn't come out and say, so this is what we need to do to make these things happen. She, in fact, says, I'm a child. I'm not educated in these things the way that the professionals are. She's like, my voice is here to make way for the voices of the scientists. I don't want you to listen to me. I want you to listen to them. That's what she says about this. And the fact that she doesn't have a political perspective is one of the things why they can't manipulate her arguments. And what blows my mind is that all these people that are shitting on her never once take a moment and say, let's address what she's bringing to the table. They just want to criticize her for being a young kid, for being a little girl, for having Asperger's. Nobody has spoken up and said, wow, but her message is really resonating, or her message makes sense. They just attack her as a person.
You know why?
Because there's no argument against it, first of all.
Well, they don't have the answer. And I was reading, it's like these middle-aged white conservative men are terrified. They are actually terrified because they don't have the answer. Well, they can't fix the climate.
Well, and I think beyond that, a lot of these people that are like the politicians and things that are speaking up, it's not just that we have the answer. The answer is in the Green New Deal.
But it's a new economy. To them, that isn't an answer. They don't.
Right. Because they lose money.
Right.
That's why.
Because their hands are completely tied with these big corporations.
And it's not even that they want to change. I mean, they would lose money. Everybody would lose money. They don't want it to change.
No.
They want it to just they want to die quietly, in 2 years because they're all so goddamn old and not think about it at all.
Right.
But unfortunately, that's just not what's happening. So what's been also cool about Greta, though, is that there's a movement happening, like a real movement happening that feels like it's going to stick in a really good way. I don't think we're going to go back from this. It's unlike the Women's March where everything seemed to kind of fall apart. One thing that's cool about her, because she doesn't have a lot of political motives, her message is very, very crystal clear, which is like, we need to do something and we need to do something now. That's the message. And people can get behind that. That's a message that it's hard to argue with. I think that's one of the things that's solidifying this movement so well.
It definitely has made me stop and think like what personally I can do. At first, to be honest, I was like, well, I mean, I'm doing everything I can do. It's really just the big corporations that are the ones at fault. But really, I think if every single person starts, doing meatless Mondays, start carrying around aluminum water bottles, start composting.
Yeah.
If every single person started doing that, start carpooling, start riding bikes, start walking more, and then that could really reduce the carbon footprint.
For sure. One of the things that I started doing, which has made me really realize like how many plastic bags I use, is I bought a bunch of I can stick them onto my keychain, and they're just little bags that I can carry with me, and I use those only for my groceries now. And anytime I buy something, I don't take the plastic bag at all. I pull out one of my travel bags.
Why are they making plastic bags still, though?
That's
like the craziest thing. It's like that's the thing.
But it's the convenience. I mean, this is why people are really. I met this guy at a wedding not too long ago who is like the head of some big environmental thing, and he's been working in this environmental stuff for years and years and years, trying to make a difference. And I said, well, how do you feel about what you've done? And he was like, I feel terrible. I haven't done anything. I mean, I've been trying, and but I said to him, I was like, well, what's one of the biggest things? It's the companies, right? The corporations are the big problem. And he was like, for sure. And the government has to start making some like changes. He's like, but also people don't like to be inconvenienced.
No,
People don't
not
want to
at all.
stop flying. They don't want to stop using their plastic bags. They don't want to think about it. They want to use their plastic forks. So one of the things that I did was I bought these transportable bags that are easy to fold up and don't take up a lot of space. And I use those all the time. I even have some of those bags like the little plastic bags you put like the fruit in if you have like loose fruit, whatever, loose nuts, whatever. I have little reusable bags for those too. So you have to remember them. You have to bring them with you. But once you get in that habit, it's not a big deal. I have like forks and knives and things that I carry with me, so I don't have to use plastic forks and knives anymore, and things like that. Like you think, oh well, what good do I do? And then you think over the course of a year, how many bags I've saved.
Oh yeah,
the amount of times I pull that bag out a day, just to buy like a soda or something. People always want to put it in a bag, and you're like, no, I don't want it in a bag.
I'll tell you what, I fucking hate those paper straws though. But the way to fix that, carry around a stainless steel straw.
Which I do.
There you go. Way to go. You get
Absolutely.
a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, I should.
You should.
But there's definitely things like that. There's also, I found this really great list at the David Suzuki Foundation. I don't know anything about David Suzuki. I hope I'm not promoting somebody that sucks. But I did like this list. And here were top 10 things he said would be good. Demand climate solutions this election. So making sure that we're talking about it during the elections, because people historically have sort of swept that one under the rug, even though it seems to be the most important one. So making sure that, we get our politicians to talk about this stuff and saying like, I'm not going to vote for you if you don't have a good plan. Just don't vote for them.
Right.
And really stick with that. Use your energy wisely, and that'll save money too. So a lot of people, especially in the United States, we're real bad about leaving the lights on and leaving the air conditioning running and leaving things, whatever, but leaving the fridge open for too long. All those things take up energy, and the more energy we use, the more fossil fuels we need to run those plants that give us our energy.
Do you and your roommates do the clean energy program that Con Edison offers?
I'm not sure.
Basically, I guess you pay for clean energy, but you're not paying for your specific apartment for clean energy. You're actually paying for it for somebody else to have clean energy. But it is a little bit more expensive, but it's a really great program.
If we do it, but because I don't take care of the
you
bills.
see them all the time. Yeah, you see them, around the subway station trying to get you, or on the street and be like, hey, you have a minute? And then finally one time I was like, yeah, I do have a minute. What's up? And I was like, oh shit. That's
Switch
cool.
to this.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good thing to do. Also, those energy efficient light bulbs. I know people don't always love them, but they're getting better.
Another cool thing, Con Edison here in New York City will come to your apartment and change your light bulbs. I don't know if they actually. I don't know if they literally come to your apartment, but they will drop off some energy saving. Yeah.
That would be great.
I know. I want to have a sexy man come change my light bulbs.
All that. But also things that people forget about are like winterizing your home. So like you can get. What are those things called? Storm windows. Have you ever done storm windows? That's like where you put, it's like basically a piece of saran wrap.
Oh yeah.
You put onto your window. And I tried it one year where I had a really bad draft, and holy crap, it worked like a miracle.
I need to do that because I got them cracks in the walls.
Yeah, I mean, in New York City, maybe this isn't such a big deal. Everyone's like, what are they talking about? I don't have problems like that. In New York City, you have a lot of problems.
Can I saran wrap my air conditioner and just leave it in all year long?
You can. You could totally saran wrap into. Really? You could in your window. You could storm window it. Okay. Anyway, what else can we do? Get charged up with renewables. What does that mean?
What does that mean? Like renewable batteries?
Oh, renewable energy. I think that they're saying too that like just trying to use renewable batteries and things like that and whatever. Great. Also, I'm a big fan of buying used clothing. That's something you got to get more into.
Yep.
Eat for a climate stable planet. Right. We're talking about that. Eating less meat
and local.
Buy exactly. Local. Eating local. Don't waste food. That's one thing I've been working on too. Is that we also have a tendency to buy too much, and it's like when your bananas go brown, it's like watch your bananas die. It's like don't do that. Don't buy so many
spaghetti
bananas.
Squash up there that's been there for 2 months.
You better eat it. Even if it's liquid.
It's sprouting.
Drink it. It's okay.
Drink it.
Just drink it. Another thing you can do is start a climate conversation. So some of our listeners might be coming from areas where people don't like to talk about climate change. You could be the one to start a conversation. You may lose some friends. It's okay. It's worth it. We're all going to lose friends if we all die.
They'll all be dead.
Okay, good. Green your commute. So he's saying use a bike. Don't take planes so much. take public transit if it's in your. That's another thing we got to work on. Is getting more public transit in
Oh my
this country,
God.
but
Yeah, being in Nashville last week, it was just, you see, one person in a car driving, and the traffic is as bad as Los Angeles now.
That's crazy.
And nobody carpools because it's not cool. You guys, it's super cool.
Carpooling is really fun. You can like put on a fun album and like jam
sing
out.
along.
It's really neat.
Yeah.
I love to carpool because I don't drive. Also waste less, use less. I think that one of the other problems that we have and people kind of freak out about, like the economy people really freak out about, is that we live in this like disposable society right now where everything is so people buy like plastic toys and people buy, the fast fashion clothes and things, and everything's so wasteful. So let's stop doing that. We don't need so much stuff. That is capitalism at its worst, telling you need more stuff. You won't be happy without more stuff.
Right.
Think about that a little bit more in your lives. So this one is the one that I really was excited about. Now, I can't really do any of this because I don't have any money, but I hadn't thought of this. One of the things you can do is if you do invest money, if you invest in stocks or any of that stuff, don't invest in fossil fuel companies. Take your money away from them. This isn't just about not spending money on fossil fuels or companies that,
It's not investing. Yeah.
Stop sending your money there, period. Instead, talk to your banking person or whatever who manages your money and say, I want you to invest some of my money in renewable energy that will support the companies, and it will prove to the economy and the economists that this is a way that we can shift our economy over. These are practical ways that we can actually shift this economy over in a way that works. But we all gotta get on board and be like, no, Satan, Exxon,
be gone,
and get into like, yay, green windmill or whatever.
I read that we use 100 million barrels of oil a day.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Wow.
And think of like, because again, I mean, the oil, it does everything. It you use it for,
everything,
for our electricity, for everything. People don't know what the connections are really, And last year, just support or join youth-led movements like we were talking about, and then get politically active and vote. Those are their advice things. Anyway.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to find that candidate in 2020 that is completely in line with your climate change, theories, ideas, and vote for them.
And making sure that this is a priority. I think some people think like, oh, what's more important than climate change? My health insurance. And it's like, guess what?
Right.
Your health insurance is useless to you when you're underwater. You know what I mean? So I think that we have to reprioritize climate change as like a real issue in politics. And there's also some things that people can do, like infrastructure things, where we start to like defend our cities a little bit better, which is more of a defensive move than it is an active move. But I think all those things together are important.
Well, I think these smaller cities, and I keep talking about Nashville because I was just there for 2 weeks. They were trying to pass more of like a public transit, maybe like a light rail that could come into downtown to relieve all the traffic, and they voted it down. And so, I mean, that's
insane.
How are you? Yeah, it is insane. It's absolutely insane.
And what were their reasons? Do you know?
They don't want the hoodlums to come in through their neighborhoods. It's pure racism, basically. Yeah. It's conservatives like being scared of change, and I mean, and in Nashville and in a lot of big cities, I mean, in a lot of cities, it's the poor people that are using mass transit,
right?
And so these
it makes me so angry.
It makes me so angry. Because, I was there and it took me an hour to get across town. And, and every person I passed, it's one person in a huge SUV.
Right.
And
you don't need that,
you
guys.
do
I'm
not
so
need
sorry
that.
If you're driving your SUV around. Unless you work for some company where you're lugging shit around all the time.
You don't need a huge SUV. You just don't.
And I'm sorry.
And it's a keeping up with the Joneses type thing, That's why they get these huge suburban
And it's easy for us to say this right now, living in New York City. We don't even have cars or whatever, right? And so you might be listening to this podcast in your suburban.
Right.
And, you have your kids and you're taking them to soccer or whatever it is. And you're like, oh, but I love my big car. I totally get it. But these are the kinds of things we're talking about when we're talking about making some sacrifices. it's like a little bit of comfort to have like a big car, or you can have like a beautiful little car. It's not like we're saying you can't ever drive again. It's just that these gas guzzling things, it's not helping anybody.
Mm-hmm. And if I have children, I would like to prove to my children that I'm actually trying to make their future better.
Sure.
No judgment, though. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you do you. These are just some options.
We're just trying to open some eyes.
And I don't want to shame you.
No,
that's
and
another
I think
thing.
that the thing is that people just don't always know the full story. And you know why? Because it's really, really scary.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really scary. And I'm a person that has a lot of anxiety. And like, I sometimes wake up in the middle of the night just in a cold sweat thinking like, oh my God, like we're all going to be dead soon if we don't do something about this. And I will say some of these movements that have been like really taking hold, and now it's more in the news than it's been, that's probably freaking a lot of people out, and that's what the backlash is. But for someone like me that's been stressed about this for a good 20 years, it feels so good to finally have people talking about this. Mm-hmm. It really does alleviate a little of my anxiety, only because it feels like now there's maybe a chance. Whereas before, when people ignore it, then we all go down the sinking ship and we don't even know it's sinking or something. Mm-hmm. It's weird.
Well, one thing that I do think that Greta and all these young kids and politicians everywhere need to change in their language about climate change is that I really do think that it's not about the earth dying. I mean, obviously, mankind is ruining Mother Earth. Let me tell you, I think Mother Earth will be A-okay.
For sure.
It's we're going to die.
Right.
And a good point a friend of mine made is, and I haven't watched this, but Chernobyl on HBO. Have you watched
I haven't watched it.
We got to watch it.
I know about the story of Chernobyl.
Yes. Yeah. I haven't watched it either, but she was making a good point of that. I guess it happened maybe 30 something years ago. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there was a huge nuclear explosion. A lot of people died, and it's a radioactive area.
Guess so people had to move. And there's no humans there.
Guess what? It's thriving.
Yeah.
Wildlife is thriving,
and it only took 30 years.
And it only took her. So guess what? Mother Earth is going to be A-okay when the world dies,
but we won't.
Right. So I think that's the thing that we need to be talking about even more. Is that yes, the climate is changing, and yes, that. Everything is horrible and terrible and stuff, but it's the humans are going to die out.
Right. But I think
humans are going, but that's going to scare people even more.
For some reason, that doesn't seem to even be enough to scare people into it. I was listening to this person who worked for this big company talking about this exact thing. Mm-hmm. It's like, how do you get people to want to change, like, and the people that have money, the companies and things. And she was saying that they broke it down to 3 types of people. One was a type that really wanted to help other people. They wanted to actively, as a company, help. And you're just seeing some of that more and more, people donating more money, people saying like, actually, like these weird loopholes you're giving us, Trump, like we don't want them anymore. We want to actually stand up and take responsibility. Then you have the companies that don't want to do harm. They don't necessarily want to fix anything, but they just don't want to make it. They want to be like a medium, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then there's the companies that just where the person personally doesn't want to be hurt. They don't care about people in general. They don't care about helping. They just want to make sure they cover their butts. And the only way to make them scared is to say, we're not going to buy your product anymore. Your bottom line is screwed. Your investors are screwed unless you make some changes that we want. And so her argument was that even just the notion of like you're hurting people, it doesn't really affect some people. They don't care. But if you tell them you're gonna make less money, then that's what hurts them. So that's why we have to really encourage people to not shop at places where people are not doing good things, because that's the only way that you can like get to these people.
And just that as an individual, you really can make a huge change.
Yes,
you can
Greta
make a difference.
Is a perfect example.
Yeah,
of this.
She's one 16-year-old young lady
who sat by herself outside the parliament one day, and she was like, fuck this.
And she's had people, she does the school striking on Fridays, like students walking out from schools all over the world now.
It's amazing.
So, I mean, because I keep saying this, but when I was back in Nashville, I got in a fight, actually, not a fight, but just a very terse discussion with a man at a sports bar. It was your fucking typical situation where it was like I was sitting with my friend Jenna. She's a beautiful girl. And then my friend Matthew was sitting kind of close, but he was watching the football game. And then this man like came and was like, whoa, this seat, can I sit in between you? I would like to watch this game. And I said, no, we're talking. We haven't seen each other. And he did not take no for an answer.
Right.
And he pulled up a chair and he sat right between us. And being a nice, polite Southern girl, you know, I just allowed it. Which that's why we have this podcast. I'm trying to empower myself to be like, no, I'm talking to my friend here, and I don't want you to join us. Right. No, but this guy did not take no for an answer, and he sat down, and then you know we did start having a conversation, and then of course it got political.
Right.
And of course, he says he doesn't vote because his vote doesn't matter. And the only reason why he voted in this last election, and he did vote for Hillary Clinton, is because his ex-wife made him to. And I was like, well,
good for her.
I'm sad that she's her ex-wife now.
Right.
But he kept going on and on and on and on and on about his vote doesn't matter. And that to me personally, that makes me so upset when I hear an American saying that their vote doesn't matter, because it does.
And the truth is, but like, they want you to think it doesn't matter.
Right.
They don't want you to vote.
Right.
And the truth is, there's a lot of voter suppression right now. There's a lot of,
I get it.
I don't even necessarily trust the polling stations and things. But if more people come out, there's also still a very small percentage of people that are going out to vote, period. So if everybody actually went out and voted, it could.
Your vote does matter. If everybody does it, your vote really does matter.
And also we have to work on voter suppression, because we got to make sure everybody's vote does matter.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, you go and vote. It takes like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
If you wait in line a little bit, bring your goddamn. We got like
listen to our podcast while you're waiting in line.
Oh my God, yeah,
that would be so great.
Why not play a game on your little hand computer, which is also your phone?
Anyway, well,
I don't know. We're doomed.
You matter. No. I hope that people listening, this excites them for the future and not makes you feel like we're doomed.
But it means, and I'm just kidding about the doomed. I think that we're not doomed if you listen. I'm talking to you right now, who's listening to this. You do something. Mm-hmm. We all do something. It is on you. It is on me. It is on all of us to start making changes, to having these hard conversations, to, you know, look, a lot of our lives are luxury, you know, and I know that we don't always feel that way when we don't make a lot of money. But the truth is, like, back in the day, people pooped in holes. Do you want to go back to pooping in a hole? I really don't want to do that. So we got to step up and do stuff. Okay.
I mean, I think they're trying to figure out how poop can then run cars and things. I would love a poop car.
That'd be great. Why
That'd
not?
Be amazing.
Poop in your car. That's
my
the
God.
lap of luxury. Can you imagine pooping in your car while you're driving? You don't have to stop.
Oh, see, talk about a dream come poo.
Yeah, perfect.
That's terrible.
Oh, it's amazing. Speaking of a dream come true.
Yeah, nice segue.
Oh, yeah, no. We have paired with adamandeve.com. We couldn't be more happy to be with this really cool company.
Yes, it's the #1 adult sex toy online company, right?
Yeah, and I've been perusing.
Yeah.
You can get a lot of really cool stuff on there. I might just break the bank at adamandeve.com. But what's cool about adamandeve.com in terms of our affiliation with them is that we have a promo code right now. It's Horio. And the thing is that free stuff is really great, right? We love free stuff, but free stuff to spice up your bedroom is even better.
Yeah, guys, guess what? You select almost any one item for 50% off, and then Adam and Eve loads on the free stuff.
That's right. You just have to enter that code I mentioned, Horio, at checkout and get 10 tantalizing free gifts.
Ooh, a sexy item for him, a special gift for her, or a special gift for her, special gift for her, a special gift for him and him. I'm just trying to, make it to include everybody. But then you get a third item you'll both enjoy.
That's right. And you also get 6 free spicy movies.
What? That's crazy.
I love a good movie.
Plus free shipping.
That's right. So that's Horio, WHOREO, Horio at adamandeve.com. Well, this has been a thrilling day. If you have any questions you want to send us at difficultwomenpodcast@gmail.com, that'd be great. If you like what you're hearing and want to support us more, you can follow us on Patreon. We are under Reformed Horrors on Patreon.
Patreon is an incredible crowdfunding source for artists, guys. A lot of my friends are like, what is Patreon? And I'm like, You don't know what Patreon is? Everyone's doing Patreon. It's a way for our fans, our Horios, to connect with us and to kind of get to see the behind the scenes. We post videos of, we just posted one about us going to Beyonce a couple years ago. And then we post songs that never should be heard by anybody except people following on Patreon.
Yeah. So you get exclusive content that not everybody else gets to see, and you get to connect with us in a new way, and you get to support us and help us make more content that is super fun and exciting.
Yes. Thanks to people subscribing to us on Patreon recently, we were able to afford a videographer to come and film our show that we just had in New York City that we'll be soon posting on Patreon.
Right.
So you can see our live show there.
How neat.
So head on over to patreon.com. I think it's /Reformed Horse.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for joining us too.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Mother Earth is just like the perfect woman, curves in all the right places and mountainous bosoms. She's nurturing, supportive, and satisfies our needs. And girl knows how to grow some realistic weeds. Like an independent lady, she's a force to be reckoned with, and she's getting pretty tired of all our bullshit. We've been needy, we've been greedy, giving her a lot of flack. We've been physically abusive, and she's ready to fight back. Drilling into her each day, saying, baby, just a little more. Can't keep on sucking her dry. She's not a little whore. We've been so very selfish, only wanting our needs met. But now we've seen the error of our ways and are full of regret.